Welcome to this week's vlog. I know that the sweltering weather conditions have created many challenges across the United Kingdom, particularly for livestock farmers having to try to look after the welfare of your animals. This is particularly challenging with housed livestock, and I know that you've been doing everything possible to make sure you provide what those animals need. For fresh produce growers having to pick those crops outside the extreme of heat to protect the workers but also maximise the shelf life. This has put a real focus on what the adaptation agenda needs to look like for the future. This week we've had the launch of the Farming Roadmap by Defra Secretary of State Emma Reynolds with a 25-year vision. Within that vision they recognise the importance of profitability, the importance of a resilient food system and the need to improve productivity. But do they genuinely recognise the urgency with which this needs to be delivered? We need that roadmap to transform into actions that can create the investment opportunities to safeguard our water supplies for the future, to make sure we can invest in that resilient food system. And it does have to happen with real urgency, real energy and real dynamism. It also needs the buy-in from across government, because there's no way Defra can do this on their own. We're going to need Treasury, we're going to need MHCLG so that the planning rules can change. We need to make sure we have the correct investment conditions. There's also been a response to Minek Batter's profitability review in detail. It's fantastic to see that so many of those recommendations are being taken up. I think it's 53 of the 57 recommendations that in the round are being committed to by government, which is brilliant because it was always the sum of the parts rather than the individual recommendations. So we really welcome that announcement, but again, it's now going to be delivering, and we're here to work in partnership with the government through the Farming and Food Profitability Board to make sure that we really can deliver on behalf of members, growers, and for 70 million people that rely on our food system. We also just need to reflect that I'm sure you all know now we're going to have a new Prime Minister. Over the coming weeks, we'll be trying to make sure that the food system and the resilience of that food system is on the agenda for whoever comes into that role next, which at the moment obviously looks like it could be Andy Burnham. So we'll be working with backbench Labour MPs. I'd urge you to try and get your MPs out onto farm to make sure they understand why a resilient food system matters. I'm now going to hand over to Robin and Jamie Burrows.
So I'm delighted to be over at the BAB office in Brussels for the COPA Presidium. Once again, it has been a real insight to hear from countries across the EU about the same challenges they're facing, to hear about how the EU is tackling the fertiliser challenges as a result of the Middle East ongoing crisis, and also about how they are addressing the changes to the CAP and how that involves talking to government about the need for farmers to be properly recognised for what they are delivering, the same as we are at home. I'm also pleased to say that we have contributed this week to the EFRA committee session on uplands. That has come in from both of our North and South groups, who have contributed their reflections on how the government needs to work in greater partnership with our members, with hill farmers, to deliver all of the ambitions that we know our farmers can deliver for food, farming and the environment in those very special and iconic landscapes where culture is also a fundamental part of their delivery.
We are now starting the 2026 Your Harvest campaign. You might wonder why we do it and why we're doing it again. Well, we do it as an opportunity to explain to the public what we do on farm, how we produce their food and drink, and why we do it. So get involved, take it as an opportunity to share your story on your farm, be it a day on the farm, something cool around harvest, lights on in the evening, you know, unloading grain into the trailer, whatever it might be. Get across what we do, how we do it and why we do it. It's really important this year. I seem to have said this last year as well, that, you know, input costs are high and commodity prices are low. But when you look at fertiliser in particular this year, it's really important that we explain to the public what the impact is for us on farm and how it impacts the food we grow for them.
Thank you very much for listening to this week's vlog. I do hope that you look after yourselves and you stay safe out there, and we look forward to updating you next week. Thank you.